Hey y'all, thanks for tuning back into Chickanic. Up, everybody's having a great week. So, did you hear the saw running? What do you think? Do you think it was running well? Absolutely not. The chain would not quit spinning on it. And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, it just needs a simple carburetor adjustment. Just like my customer did who brought it in last week for that carburetor adjustment. Now, I didn't send him on his way. He's one of my commercial guys. He said, I gotta have this saw today and definitely in the morning. Is there anything you could do? I stopped what I was doing. I went through a few steps. I tried to adjust it for him, and to no avail, it just kept spinning on idle. Now, was this a failure on my part? Absolutely not. I told the customer, I've got to check a few more things before I can definitely tell you exactly what's wrong with this thing. You've got to bring it back to me when you have time to drop it off. Well, he had time to drop it off today and said he can pick it up in the morning, so I got right on it. And in about 5 minutes, I figured out what it was. Now, the problem with this is a lot of people think that these issues can be fixed with a simple carburetor adjustment. And I've made a video about this before when it came to another Echo chainsaw, and I want to make it again because I've had so many people ask me about why don't I make videos showing exactly how to do the carburetor adjustments. It's because there are so many steps you need to take before you ever touch your carburetor. So what are those steps? Well, let me go over what I went over on this chainsaw when my customer brought it in and needed it right like that. So first thing I do, I check the fuel. I got to make sure that it's fresh, and I got to make sure that it's not canned fuel, and I also got to make sure that there's no water in it. Next, I check the exhaust. I make sure that it's not clogged. Next, if it has a primer button on it, I'm going to prime it, and I'm going to make sure that the fuel is going through the carburetor fluidly, correctly. No stops in the primer, suction, or nothing like that. Next, I'm going to check the air filter. I'm going to make sure that it's not clogged up. I'm going to check the plug. I'm going to make sure that it's not fouled out. Then I'm going to look inside the cylinder through the plug hole and make sure that the machine's not burned up. All of these steps have to be done before I'll ever touch something to actually adjust it. Because 90% of the time, one of those issues is why it's not running right. And this I only do if it's a unit that has been running correctly right before they brought it in. Now, if it's a unit that's been sitting for a long time, there's other steps I do before I go to adjusting on the carburetor. If I can actually get it to start, I will lay into the throttle, even if it's bogging out like crazy. I will stay continuously on the throttle until hopefully it changes or I realize it's not going to work at all. Why do I do this? Because things that sit for a long period of time, the diaphragms in the carburetor will get hard, and I can adjust it immediately and make it work for that customer in a few seconds, and they're happy and they're on their way. But the truth is, they'll take it home, they will run it for 30 minutes trimming their yard, and while they're doing that, it's going to loosen those diaphragms up. So next thing you know, they went from not getting enough gas to getting too much gas and it flooding out like crazy. They're going to be right back for me to adjust it again. So really where I'm going with this is if you think you need a carburetor adjustment, there's a reason why you need a carburetor adjustment. And I want to know that. So the customer finally had time to bring in their Echo CS355T chainsaw today for me to re-go over it and find out what's going on, why it won't idle, and this is what I did. I double checked the gas. I made sure it was good. I already know that the plug's new from last week when we put it in. I know that the piston cylinder's beautiful from last week whenever I looked at it. I went ahead and removed the air filter. I looked behind the air filter base. I took the air filter base off. I looked at the fuel lines, made sure that nothing was leaking or pinched. I looked at the fuel filter. I made sure that it was still in good working order. I looked at the fuel line inside the tank. It was fine. I removed this plate right here on the top where the fuel lines travel just to make sure that they weren't getting pitched for some weird reason. And to no avail, it still wouldn't idle. I opened up the carburetor to make sure there was no debris in the screen. Carburetor diaphragms looked perfect and there was nothing inside of it. So if I know everything else is perfect, then it's got to be something different. And from experience, I knew what it was. So what do I do next? I remove the side cover. That has nothing to do with the carburetor at all. Let me bring you in. So I got to take the side cover off here. And wish I would have done this first, I guess. But you never know. And look, this is the clutch. I have 3 shoes and 2 springs and a missing spring right there. Check it out. So what's happening is the clutch is staying engaged all the time. It wouldn't have mattered how much adjusting I did. This chain is never going to stop moving. So I got a clutch in stock, a piston stop, and a clutch remover. Let's fix it. So while I take this apart, I wanted to tell you all a little story for those of you who have just joined me a long time ago. I don't remember if it was for Christmas or if it was for hitting a certain subscriber count. I gave away a Echo CS355T. You know, that's $400 worth of saw after tax. And I had already used the saw for a video where I was showing people the spark plug, and that any brand new unit that you ever buy has already been test ran at a factory. So the plug comes used because they've already pretty much been broken in. So it was my breaking in as a myth video. Well, when the guy won it, I threw it in a box and sent it to him, and he sent me a message a little while later saying that it would not start, and he couldn't figure it out till he realized that I forgot to put the plug back in it. So that was funny. He put a plug in it, and it ran just fine, but I felt a little bad for that one. So we are going to put the piston stop in. This one is super simple because everything's on the outside on this one. And when you take them off, it's actually reverse threads. So you're going to go righty, loosey, lefty, tighty. If you do ever have to change your clutch out on your CS355T Echo chainsaw, the part number is an A as in Apple 056000071. Now on this one, and it might happen to you too, I'm going to have to remove the rewind because whenever I go to tighten it down, you can watch this, it's that spring back I'm getting right there. It's putting tension on the rewind, and I don't want to break that side, so I'm just going to remove the rewind to make it easier. Now, when I go to tighten it down, I've got it perfectly pressed against my piston stop, the cylinder, or the piston. That way I know it's not going to ram into it and do any damage, which is a good thing. And we're tight. All right, I got her all put back together now. Let's see if she'll idle and not keep spinning. And that's a fix. Well, she runs great, and it had nothing to do with the carburetor, even though a lot of people would assume it would, even the customer himself. So I just really wanted to put this video out as a warning, you guys. There are videos out there on how to adjust your carburetor with hundreds of thousands of views, and they're really doing a disservice if they don't tell you all these steps you need to check before you go to adjusting on your carburetor, because you can do a lot of damage if it is not adjusted correctly. Also, 90% of the time, there's another issue causing the problem anyways. And if you checked all these steps and you really need to know how to adjust your carburetor, I've already made an awesome video on that. I will leave a link right up above, also at the end of this video and in the description box below. So guys, thanks again for tuning in to Chickanic. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet and you find yourself coming back over and over again, it would be awesome if you hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel, and it will make the videos shown to more people, which will help a lot of people save time, money, and frustration in the future. If you haven't found me at Facebook, find me at facebook.com/Chickanic. Find me on Instagram at TheRealChickanic, or find me at Chickanic.com, where you get your own t-shirts, hoodies, and long sleeve shirts. Thanks guys, and have a great day.